You know that feeling when a community you love starts to change? When the very essence of a place feels like it's slipping just, just out of reach.
It's a challenge playing out in so many vibrant areas today. Rapid growth, it often brings incredible energy, and opportunity, but it also creates immense pressure.
Especially on housing, right?
Exactly. Especially housing. It really tests the fabric of a community.
You've absolutely hit the nail on the head there. And today, we're really digging into how that's playing out specifically in St. Johns County, Florida.
Ah, yes, St. John's, a prime example.
It's a story about growth, sure, but also challenge, and maybe some surprisingly elegant solutions for what we're calling its housing attainability crisis.
That term is key.
Right. Our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack how a very specific, targeted approach to density, we're going to talk about cottage homes, could be a sort of shortcut.
A shortcut to providing suitable housing.
Yeah, for the local families and essential workers who make the county tick. And crucially, doing it while preserving that local character everyone cherishes.
And it's so vital we clarify our terms up front, like you said, because it makes a huge difference. We're talking about attainability, not simply affordability.
Explain that difference a bit more.
Well, affordability often implies, subsidized housing. Attainability, though, is about ensuring that working families can actually access appropriate housing within their means.
So market rate, but reachable.
Exactly. Our focus today is specifically on single-family homes that are attainable, the kind of stable environment suitable for raising families, offering real home ownership, not just any roof over their heads.
Okay, so let's unpack the current landscape in St. Johns County, because it sounds like a real squeeze for many people there.
It is. The county is just booming, right? People
Right.
are flocking there. Great quality of life, schools, the coast.
All the draws.
Definitely. But what's happening is this growth is creating pretty significant challenges for the very people who form the backbone of the community.
You mean the essential workers, service personnel? Yeah.
Exactly. Think about your teachers, your paramedics, your firefighters, the folks who, keep everything running smoothly day to day.
And how are the market dynamics affecting them specifically?
It's truly fascinating, in a way. What we're seeing is a lot of the higher-priced homes being snapped up by out-of-state buyers.
People moving in?
Yeah, often remote workers with maybe greater purchasing power. And this inadvertently pushes local essential workers, right out of the market.
Oh, so the prices reflect that.
Absolutely. Consider this. The median home price in St. Johns County recently hovered around $510,000.
$110,000. Median.
That figure, even with the slight market dip we saw, is simply out of reach for many local families, especially those on local wages. It just doesn't pencil out.
So when home prices surge like that, what's the tangible impact? I mean, what does it really mean for the lives of people who've maybe called St. Johns County home for years?
The consequences are profound, honestly.
Yeah.
And they ripple through the entire community. Many of these vital community members are forced to relocate.
Move further up.
Yes, to less expensive regions, often commuting significant distances back into St. Johns County for work.
That commute must be brutal.
Think about a teacher or a paramedic spending an hour, hour and a half each way in traffic. That's not just an inconvenience.
No, that's life-altering.
It eats into their quality of life,
Yeah.
clogs the roads with increased traffic, and ultimately it leads to community fragmentation. You lose that vital connection, between where people live and where they contribute locally.
It's a real disconnect. And from what we've gathered, the current policy focus isn't quite hitting the mark for these local families, is it?
It seems that way. The St. Johns County Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, AHAC they call it, has largely focused on apartments and townhomes.
Which have their place, of course.
They certainly do. But they often support large developer interests. You see these massive developments like Hudson Company's recent $89 million acquisition for the Silverleaf Master Planned Community.
Right, huge projects.
And those typically lean towards higher-end housing. They're not really addressing the need for attainable single-family options that many local families actually need and want.
Okay, that all sounds pretty challenging, maybe even a bit bleak. But our deep dives often uncover unexpected angles. Is there any overlooked advantage, any hidden gem here?
Well, it's often said St. Johns County is running out of space.
That's the common narrative, yeah.
Well, what if I told you there's a surprising plot twist in the story?
Okay, I'm listening. A plot twist.
That's exactly it. The narrative we often hear is one of scarcity, of being built out. But our analysis revealed a surprising truth. St. Johns County actually has a well, like a kind of hidden land bank.
Hidden land bank. You mean empty lots?
Exactly. Vacant and undeveloped lots just sitting there waiting to be tapped. It's a silent opportunity that could potentially entirely shift the housing conversation.
That's fascinating. So where are these hidden gems located? Are they all clustered somewhere?
No, they're actually spread across the county, which is interesting. The West Augustine Community Redevelopment Plan, for instance, it explicitly highlights numerous vacant lots ripe for infill housing.
Infill.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning building on empty lots within existing neighborhoods.
Precisely. The plan notes that about 22% of the land there is single-family residential, but a significant percentage is still vacant. So real potential right there.
And it's not just West Augustine, right? Because that's just one area.
No, definitely not. Take Flagler Estates, for example. It boasts extensive vacant lots. We looked at recent data. Realtor.com showed over 144 land and lot listings just sitting there.
Over 140 lots in just one area.
Just in that one area, yeah. And what's even more telling is that some builders, like Holiday Builders, were recently pricing new construction homes there well below $300,000.
Wow, under $300. That is attainable.
It shows attainability is already possible there, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have Vermont Heights, another mostly residential area with, again, numerous vacant parcels suitable for development, according to county records.
So these lots exist. With all these vacant lots, what does this mean for the current market dynamics? Is there an openness to new ideas, do you think?
Well, what's truly compelling here, and maybe speaks to timing, is that recent reports indicate the number of homes for sale shot past 3,000.
For the first time in a long time.
First time in at least a decade, yeah. That signifies a shifting market. They also noted that roughly a third of sellers have recently slashed their asking prices.
Sellers lowering prices.
It suggests the market might be softening a bit, maybe more open to new, innovative approaches to housing development, like, focusing on these underutilized vacant lots. It's not just an idea. The conditions might actually be right for it.
Okay, so if that's the current picture, the squeeze on locals, but also this hidden potential in vacant lots, where do we even begin to find a solution that's attainable?
This is where the cottage home really starts to shine, I think.
Right, cottage homes. Define that for us again. We're not talking tiny houses, necessarily.
No, not necessarily tiny houses, though they share some principles. We're talking about smaller, single-family residences, typically ranging, say, 800 to 1,500 square feet.
So modest, but still a full home.
Exactly, built on smaller lots. This type of home still offers all the benefits of single-family living. You get your own private outdoor space, the opportunity for homeownership.
The American dream, just maybe a bit smaller.
Sort of, yeah. But they're inherently more attainable for working families because they simply require less land and often involve less elaborate, costly construction.
And this is where the type of builder matters, you were saying.
Absolutely critical. This is precisely where the role of small, local builders becomes crucial.
Why them specifically?
Well, unlike large developers who often prioritize maximizing profits through standardized large-scale projects, think huge subdivisions.
Right, the cookie-cutter approach sometimes.
Small local builders can create customized, context-sensitive housing. They're much better equipped to integrate new homes thoughtfully into existing neighborhoods, addressing specific local needs and preserving community character.
That makes sense. They live there, they know the area.
Exactly. They have skin in the game, you could say. They're not just creating sprawling, anonymous tracts.
And are we already seeing this happen? Are there local builders or groups pushing this?
We are, actually. There are local initiatives popping up that recognize this potential. For example, Goshen Tiny Homes in St. Augustine, they've been actively promoting accessory dwelling units, ADUs.
Yeah,
there.
the little backyard houses.
Right, and small homes in general. They're even highlighting their potential for rental income, suggesting they could generate $20,000, $40,000 annually for homeowners.
Interesting. So even if their focus is rentals, the building style fits.
Exactly. The building techniques, the design principles, they're directly applicable to primary residences too. And another one, Generation Homes, also based in St. Augustine, recognizes cottages as a real alternative to larger custom homes. They're actively promoting smaller, more efficient designs.
So there's energy around this locally.
There is, and it raises an important point about the growing community support. The Attainable Housing Coalition, which is backed by the St. Johns County Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, the Chandler's involved. That's significant.
It is. They made it clear, they said, our essential workers support the quality of life in St. Johns County. Unfortunately, many of our workers can't afford to live where they work.
A common story, sadly.
Yeah. But they specifically endorse smart solutions, so the ones who help our community thrive can also call St. Johns County home. And this is precisely the kind of vision cottage homes fulfill: practical, community-focused solutions.
Okay, so the idea of these smaller, smarter homes makes sense. We know there are vacant lots. But let's talk about the elephant in the room when you bring up housing solutions. Density.
Ah, density. Yes.
The very word can make some people nervous, can't it? Conjures images of overpacked neighborhoods, maybe high-rises.
It definitely can. But there are actually incredible benefits to increased density when it's done right, when it's targeted.
Targeted density.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the benefits?
Well, research consistently shows that increased density, when thoughtfully implemented, leads to several positive outcomes. Firstly, it directly boosts the housing supply.
More homes.
More homes, which in turn can improve affordability or at least slow the price increases. One study noted that even a 1% increase in yearly new housing supply can cause average rent levels to fall slightly. More units on less land is just, well, it's more efficient.
And it's not just about more homes, is it? It's about how we use our existing resources, too.
Precisely. Denser development makes better use of existing infrastructure, roads, water, sewer systems. It reduces the per-unit cost for all that.
So potentially cheaper for the county or city in the long run?
Could be. And there are also significant environmental benefits. It reduces urban sprawl, helps preserve open space, and can significantly cut vehicle miles traveled compared to, typical suburban development where everyone drives everywhere.
Less driving, greener communities.
And as experts like Ellen Dunham-Jones highlight, well-designed, denser neighborhoods create more vibrant, walkable communities. Better access to amenities, support for local businesses. It builds community vitality.
Of course, we have to acknowledge the concerns people have about density, because they're valid concerns.
Absolutely.
People worry about their neighborhood character changing or traffic and parking getting worse.
Right, the infrastructure capacity question: can the pipes and roads handle it?
Exactly. And property values, construction disruption, these are real worries for residents.
And this is exactly why the concept of targeted density becomes so crucial. The real revelation here isn't just that density can work, it's that targeted density acts more like a surgical tool.
How so?
Instead of blanket countywide changes, which can feel overwhelming and imposed, focusing density increases only in specific, suitable areas offers significant advantages.
Like where?
Like maybe near transit hubs or in areas with lots of those vacant lots we talked about. It allows for the preservation of neighborhood character elsewhere, where desired. It enables strategic infrastructure investment right where it's needed.
So you upgrade infrastructure specifically for those denser pockets.
Exactly. And it aligns density with specific market demands. Plus, this approach tends to reduce political opposition because it's not a one-size-fits-all mandate forced on everyone. It feels more tailored.
Can you give us an example of this targeted approach working in practice somewhere else?
Sure. Portland, Oregon's residential infill project, they call it RIP, is a really valuable case study.
RIP.
They allowed things like duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, but only in specific areas, based on factors like proximity to transit and lot size.
Not everywhere.
Not everywhere. And this targeted approach led to a significant increase in housing permits in those designated areas, while, and this is important, maintaining overall neighborhood satisfaction according to their surveys.
Interesting. How does that compare to other approaches?
Well, compare that to Minneapolis. With their 2040 plan, they eliminated single-family zoning citywide, a much broader stroke.
A big change. Did it work?
Housing production did increase, yes. But the vast majority of that new development ended up concentrated in a relatively small percentage of the city anyway, maybe 30%, and it faced significant political opposition and legal challenges.
So the lesson for St. Johns County seems pretty clear then.
It does. The Portland model, with its targeted approach in areas like West Augustine, Vermont Heights, Flagler Estates areas with existing vacant lots and maybe infrastructure potential, would likely be far more effective and probably more palatable than trying to impose countywide changes. It's about being smart and strategic.
Okay, so targeted density makes sense. And if we connect this back to the cottage home idea, is there a specific model that fits this targeted approach well?
Yes, absolutely. A really practical model, one that seems almost purpose-built for this kind of targeted density in places like St. Johns County, is something called cottage courts.
Cottage courts. Okay, paint us a picture. What do these look like?
Imagine a small cluster of detached homes, maybe 4 to 12 of them. They're typically arranged around a shared courtyard or a green space.
Ah. So a communal element.
Exactly. This design fosters a strong sense of community while still giving residents the privacy and independence of single-family living. It's not an apartment building, they're separate homes.
And what are the key features? Still those smaller footprints.
Yes, key features include those optimized floor plans, 800 to 1,500 square feet, really maximizing livable space, often using sustainable design principles. And they're very pedestrian-friendly, with parking often tucked away at the periphery, not dominating the streetscape.
Sounds nice. Less focused on the car.
Right. And what's really interesting here is the emphasis on contextual design, making sure the court fits in with the existing neighborhood character, rather than imposing something totally alien.
It sounds appealing, this idea of a community within a community. But I'm sure there are practical challenges to implementing something like this, especially with existing regulations, right?
Yeah.
Zoning and all that.
Oh, for sure. There are always challenges. Common ones include existing zoning barriers. Many zoning codes just weren't written with cottage courts in mind.
So how do you get around that?
The solution is often to work with the local planning departments to create specific provisions. You can use tools like overlay zones or form-based codes.
Okay, what are those?
They're essentially specific planning tools that allow for tailored development rules in designated areas, like allowing smaller lots or shared parking for cottage courts, without having to rewrite the entire county's zoning ordinance. It's more targeted.
Got it. What other hurdles?
Infrastructure costs can be an issue, but clustering the units helps. You might consider shared utility systems sometimes. Financing can also be tricky initially, as traditional lenders might be unfamiliar with the model.
So you need banks willing to try something new.
Right, partnering with specialized lenders or maybe community land trusts can be key there.
And for something like a cottage court, where homes are closer together, how do you address privacy concerns? That seems important.
Very important. And
Yeah.
that's where thoughtful design is absolutely crucial, using landscaping, maybe low fences, careful window placement, staggering the home slightly, all to ensure residents feel they have their own space
Design matters.
immensely. And finally, for the long term, you need to think about managing those shared open spaces. That usually means establishing a homeowners association or HOA just for the court to handle maintenance of the common areas. Clear rules from the start.
Okay, so it requires planning, but it sounds doable. This is a clear vision. How do we actually get this done in St. Johns County? What's the practical roadmap starting now?
Right. Moving from idea to reality. A structured approach is critical. Our roadmap for implementation really breaks down into 3 key phases.
Phase 1.
First, policy development. This involves actually creating something like a cottage home overlay zone for those specific target areas we identified: West Augustine, Vermont Heights, Flagler Estates.
Well, places with a lot.
Exactly. This overlay would explicitly allow for smaller lot sizes, maybe 2,500, 4,000 square feet. Permit slightly higher density, say 8-12 units per acre in those spots, and maybe reduce setback requirements a bit. Critically, it would include design standards to ensure quality.
So clear rules for builders.
Yes, and concurrently, you develop a specific cottage court ordinance defining the rules for these courts' number of units, required shared open space, parking ratios, management structure. And to speed things up,
That's red tape?
hopefully, establish expedited permitting for projects that meet these new cottage home and court standards. This initial policy phase ideally could happen over the next 6 months or so.
Okay, 6 months for policy, then what? Phase 2.
Phase 2, following on from that, maybe starting around month 3 and going to month 9, is incentive program development. Policy is one thing, making it financially viable is another.
Right, making it attractive for builders.
Precisely. This means creating financial incentives, things like impact fee reductions or waivers, maybe temporary property tax abatements for attainable projects, possibly low-interest construction loans.
Support for the builders themselves.
Yes, especially the small local ones. A small builder support program could offer technical assistance, access to pre-approved cottage designs perhaps, networking, training, help them navigate the process.
And connecting the dots.
Absolutely. A vacant lot inventory and matching program. Actually identify and list those available lots we discussed and actively connect them with builders and potential homebuyers who need attainable options.
That sounds really practical, a step-by-step approach. And then, after all that, we need to show it working in action, right?
Yeah.
A real-world example.
Exactly. Seeing is believing. That leads to phase 3, the demonstration project. This could be launched within, say, 6 to 18 months.
What would that involve?
It involves selecting a suitable site, maybe a cluster of county-owned vacant lots, issuing a request for proposals, specifically targeting local builders for a cottage court project. Then offer enhanced support for that pilot project, waive permit fees, guarantee expedited review, maybe help with marketing.
And learn from it.
Critically, document the process and the results thoroughly, costs, timelines, community reception. This is key to proving the concept, refining the policies, and building momentum for more projects.
So to sum up the recommendations.
It really boils down to prioritize these cottage homes and courts, actively incentivize and support small local builders, implement targeted density in specific areas, maybe revise AHAC's focus a bit towards these single-family attainable options, and get those demonstration projects off the ground. It's a comprehensive but actionable plan.
Wow, this deep dive has truly illuminated, I think, a really clear path forward for St. Johns County. It shows us that the county's unique housing challenges, especially our local families and essential workers, they can be addressed.
And maybe not just by the usual mega development.
Right, not just by sprawling new developments, but through a strategic, targeted approach. It really is about focusing on these cottage homes and thoughtfully utilizing those existing, often overlooked, vacant lots.
And this raises an important question, I think, for you, our listener, to consider as we wrap up.
Go ahead.
Imagine if redefining growth meant focusing not just on larger developments, not just on maximizing square footage or profits, but on nurturing small, community-integrated housing solutions. Solutions that prioritize the very people who make a county thrive.
What could that look like?
Yeah, what could that really mean for the character, the feel, and the resilience of our communities? It's a powerful thought, I think, for the future of St. Johns County, and honestly, for many growing areas facing similar pressures across the country.